Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to share with you one scrapbook layout and two cards, similar cards but with different colorways, with a reverse stamping colouring technique. I've picked out my colours, the shortbread and sage and peach and glacier, so I'm going for a real pastel type tone, and I'm going to use brush strokes, which is the new texture style stamp that's available in the May-June catalogue. I know that I've got quite a few of these sorts of sets, but every time they bring one out there is something in there that I just really can't do without. I really love this part here. But for the main part, we're going to use just this one stamp here, and I'm going to show you a couple of techniques on how to achieve colouring with that. The other stamp set that I'm going to use is a Rewards Your Way set. This set is only available for Close to My Heart makers to order, but for customers of mine, when they place a qualifying order, I'm offering this set. It's a half price set if you get the whole bundle, or you can get each stamp individually. But I couldn't help myself, I had to get the whole entire set. So I'm going to spread all these out so you can have a look at what they are. I love all of these icons, and I know that I'm going to use these a lot with baking pages or even going out with coffee and cake. Anytime the family's together and we're cooking together, this is just such a versatile set, and I love that there are all these little individual icons that you can use in a myriad of ways. So let's get into the technique that we're going to do today. I've already pre-stamped a card panel, and this is the same technique that I'm doing for a scrapbook layout as well. Once I started working on the card, I really wanted to keep going with this and create a scrapbook layout. So I'm going to turn my Versamat over so that I've got the spongy side. And for this combination, I'm going to use shortbread and sage. I'm going to bring in some scratch copy paper because I'm going to be stamping off the edge, and I'm going to use this brush stroke here, but instead of using it with the intended side with all the texture, I'm actually going to flip it over so that the smooth side is on my block, and I'm going to be using that to do the colouring in. So I don't need markers, I don't need to get any pencils out, and I'm just going to go around the outside of this and colour block it out, and you can see that I'm alternating it. And where I've got a rolling pin, I'm going to actually bring this one in here, and I'm going to put this on the block as well, but the smooth side up. So the part that you would normally adhere to your block is the part that I'm going to be stamping with. But this shape works really well for the rolling pin. And I am going in odd order, and I've got a little one here that I need to fill the gap in. I could bring in this piping bag, but not enough of the image is going to show. So I'm going to bring the rolling pin back in again. I've inked that up in intense black ink, and I'm just putting that little icon down in this bottom corner down here. I'm going to let that dry before I stamp over top of it. And now what I'm going to do is come around with the sage and use the larger brush stroke element. And I'm not stamping this the same way every single time. I'm making sure that I rotate a little bit so that the patterns don't all look the same. But you can see how wonderful this is looking with these colours. It's a real retro type feel. I feel like it's almost a 1950s type look, early 1960s type look. And I really love how this has come together. So now that that ink is a little bit dry, I'm going to come back in with the shortbread and colour in with reverse stamping that rolling pin. So you can see how that looks with the off the edge stamping. It always works when you're doing something like this to have the icons running off the edges of the paper. And then I'm going to put this up onto some sage cardstock, and I'm just going to pop it up on some fun foam. People have asked me where I get my fun foam from. There is a local variety store that I go into, and it's sold in very large sheets, so I just buy it. It's almost like a poster size that the kids used to do their projects on, so I just go in and buy a few sheets of that, and then I cut it up into card panel size. Fine with cards, it's nice to have a good solid base for sending them through the mail. I'd rather save my foam tape for my scrapbooking projects. That is super quick to do, and you can see it looks great, I think, also with the peach and the glacier colours as well. And these would be great for a Mother's Day card, or for anybody that you're giving some baked gifts to put this with, or even to give it to somebody who might have gifted you with something nice and sweet and yummy and you want to say thank you. So let's bring in the scrapbook layout. This is going to be a double page spread, so I've already done the right side, but I thought I'd show you a couple of treatments. I've created a border just with the same sort of thing. This time I've put the title as "Life is Short, Lick the Bowl," and then there's another title on this page, "The secret ingredient is always love." I'm not putting a main title on this layout. I think these two sentiments sort of say it all. And when I'm laying this out on the page, I've put shortbread on one side and sage on the other. All the photo mats are with shortbread, and then I've done the icons and cut them down into just shy of 2-inch squares. The mat itself is 2 inches, and then they're going to be my embellishments for the page. But looking at this, I want to add something else to it. So what I'm going to do is take this same stamp that I used for the colouring, but instead of using the smooth side, I'm going to flip that over so that I get the textured side. I need to bring in my copy paper again because I'm going to be stamping off the edge here and there. I'm using the same colours, sage and shortbread, and I'm not going to go over the top with this. I just want some places for these things to have anchors or places to rest. So now I'm going to put a sage one down here. I'm going to have that coming off the page a little bit, but you can see how this is giving these elements somewhere to land. I think I'll put another one of these up over here. And I'm just using my layout. I haven't done measurements for where things go for this. I'm just eyeballing it. But I think I need another shortbread down in this area here. And because I've got 4, I feel like I need to put one more on there. And I think what I'm going to do is put another shortbread roughly under where this part is here. And I quite like how that looks, so I'm going to close up all my ink pads and adhere all this together, and then I will be back to show you the right side of this page. Here's the layout all put together. You can see that I've added some little dots. They're actually from Cake Day. I don't think they're available any longer, but I just had a few of these left over, and I thought the green and the shortbready looking colour went perfectly with this layout. The solid stamping with the reverse side of the stamp colours these images in just perfectly, I think. I like that there's little bits of white poking out from the edges of some of them. It just adds a little bit of character and a touch of whimsy, and it really does have a bit of a retro feel. Stamping the other side of that brushstroke image adds the texture and a place for things to land and gives enough interest to the background without having to add too much more, I don't think. I've got some little journaling lines here. I just did the one border strip because I wanted that to be like a feature and then lead your eye across. So just putting some matted images of these just decorates everything up nicely. Here are the 2 cards that I made as well. And while I was doing this, I had time for just a quick little play with one of the Tutti Frutti stamp sets. So this is the card making stamp set plus thin cuts, and I thought it would be fun to try and do this with a border. Basically what I did was stamp these in rows up the size of a card panel, And then I peeled the stamp off, flipped it over so that I had the solid side, and then stamped that solid side to get the colours. So it's sort of almost a rainbow order. I've got wildberry, nectarine, lemon, green apple and glacier. And I think for memory I double stamped the glacier just to give it a little bit more strength. And then what I did was trim the panel down because there were white edges and I didn't want any of that. Put it onto a black mat and then put it onto a white card panel. So you can look at your stamp sets in a different way. If there's something that looks a little bit like a mirror image, you could stamp that, flip it over and stamp a solid colour over the top of that if you wish. Any of these, you could do that as well. This technique will make you look at your stamp sets in a whole different way. I'll put some still shots up of these at the end of the video. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope to see you next time. Happy crafting and bye for now.